Board with Friends, episode 24. Tiny Epic Western.
I mean, I'm not allowed to tell that story because Zach wants to stay on topic.
Stay on topic.
All right, well, we got a little off topic.
Again, 40%. I'm lazy, and I'm a mooch. That's what I do.
This is not that kind of podcast.
Welcome to Board with Friends, the podcast about hobby gaming and making sure that this town is big enough for the 2 to 5 players that are in it.
That was way better the first time we tried to do this and my computer crashed.
I am so upset about that because it came out so much better. And yeah, you're right. The joke was better the first time.
You know what, though? Maybe it's just because it was the first time that I heard it. Also, just to all cards on the table, this is the first time that we haven't recorded in the same room an episode of Board with Friends, so I kind of felt like I was listening to the podcast for a second, and then I realized, I have to say something now.
It's so funny because I feel like I've been in a conversation with you for the last 6 hours because I was listening to your new show, The Say Report, on my way home from work.
Oh, that's very kind of you. This week's episode about the Nintendo Switch and John Wick 2?
I didn't get to the Nintendo Switch part yet, but I did hear your lovely rant about John Wick 2 and braving a snowstorm to go see a movie.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's how crazy I am, and I am Devin Decker because
you are Devin Decker.
I cut off Zach before he could introduce me, and yeah, thanks for having me back, Zach. I love being on Board with Friends.
Thanks for being on.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. You just have to watch yourself and make sure you don't swear. You know?
Did I swear in anything that I just said?
You have not yet.
Okay.
But after listening to you on your show, I realized what a potty mouth you have, you know?
Oh, Jesus. You are such your mother's son. That's what I'm going to say there.
I absolutely am.
Potty mouth is what your mom would say.
I don't know if she would say it that way. She probably would swear while saying it, quite honestly.
Yeah, a little bit. You got a little bit of your dad in you, too.
Anyway, oh, man, it's good to have you back on the show, Devin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I am very happy to be here. So... this town is not big for the two to five of us. That sounds like we're talking about a Western.
Yes, that is a Western joke.
Oh,
yes,
good.
It is.
So we're talking about Colt Express? No, Colt Express has 6
not at
players,
all, actually.
right? So are there other Western board games?
There are, yeah.
No.
Our review game today that we're going to get to later is actually Tiny Epic Western. I know when I introduced you to the Tiny Epic series, you really liked it, and that's why I invited you on to review this game, because I thought you had a good feeling about Tiny Epic Galaxy, and having the words tiny and epic in front of the rest of the name of the game didn't deter you from wanting to try something new, which is encouraging.
Well, I think that's because as you know, Devin Decker of Rhode Island, I myself am only tiny and epic. So it really just kind of played to my brand.
You're going to have a long... I think, Devin, that you will have the largest tombstone of anyone else on Earth because you're going to have all these different things to say about you.
Yeah, everything I say goes into a little epitaph book. And, I'll just send that over to the tombstone man. What do you call a man who makes tombstones?
Tombstone maker?
That's probably actually the correct word.
I don't know.
The gravesmith? I like gravesmith.
Stonemason, probably. I mean...
Yeah. This got real dark real early. I didn't think we were going to talk about death this early. But no, I do like the Tiny Epic games. And there's this little part of me that thinks it's because I'm very good at them. It's just because it's such a quick game to pick up and learn, the Tiny Epic games. Once I know the mechanics, I'm already working on strategy. And all of these games, well, the 2 that I've played, Tiny Epic Galaxies and Tiny Epic Westerns, they're very strategy-based. And if I can focus on my strategy right away, then you've really sold me on a game.
Absolutely. I like them. We're going to get more into depth later on it, though. So, just for fun, let's see. What have you been playing, Devin?
Well, I've mostly been playing Super Nintendo, but I think you mean board games.
I can talk about Super Nintendo if you want.
I've been playing randomizations and stuff, and if you want to hear about that, then yeah, check out the Stay Report, because I somehow sneak in the fact that I play randomized versions of old video games. Whenever I can, whenever there's really a lull in the conversation with Siege, and I fill it with that, because that's what I've been doing with my time.
You did, yeah, and you gave a lovely nod to our other co-conspirator, Sean Bissonnette, as well.
Well,
even though you didn't name him.
No. But Sean is the reason why I found out about randomization. So thank you, Sean Bissonnette. Also, thank you, Zach, for telling me how to pronounce his name. I've been saying it wrong all along. But
I don't even know if I said it right, honestly. I'm sure he'll correct us next time he's on.
I can't wait. But actual board games. I'm a huge fan of Ghostbusters. I'm looking at a Lego Ghostbuster house right now, and I'm drinking Ecto Cooler because I have 2 cans left. So the last board game that I played is a tie-in to the 2016 movie called Protect the Barrier, which you actually introduced me to.
I did. I bought that game specifically because I knew you'd want to play it, because it did tie into Ghostbusters Answer the Call. As I learned to always use the proper name for things, I'm going to use the full title of that movie from now on, just to make you happy.
I'd like to tell just a brief diversion. I know you like to stay on topic, but it's about Ghostbusters. I was hanging out with a friend of mine, Jeff. I go to see a lot of movies with my friend Jeff, and I called it Ghostbusters Answer the Call, and he got very upset with me. Because while he agrees that that is the actual name of the movie, by the movie itself never being marketed under its official title, he felt that it lost all claim to it. So you have to call it the 2016 Ghostbusters remake. And it was a compelling argument.
A lot, though, with sequels. I mean, I feel like I'll look at the marquee at the Showcase Cinema, and it'll just put 2 at the end of it or something like that, or it'll put the year. For some reason, they don't always put the full title of a movie. Right,
and that's just because, there's so much space, and you can't write every... And titles are just getting longer. Birdman is just going to be Birdman. They're not going to put in the unexpected virtue of ignorance on every marquee, mostly because I don't think they have enough letters. They'd run out of U's. I feel like there's a lot of U's in that. But yeah, and it was just interesting.
If I ever actually made a blockbuster movie, I would give it the longest title possible, just to anger the people who have to do that on the marquee.
That's actually Jeff. So we're coming for you, Jeff.
I mean, quite honestly, I feel like they should switch it to digital. I mean, wouldn't it be easier just to type in an electronic sign and be able to change it?
It definitely would be. It'd be so expensive to do that. And unfortunately, as much as I love them, the cinema industry is not as booming as it once was. With same-day VOD and stuff like that. So while they are making a lot of changes to your local movie theater, that's probably not going to be number one because of how expensive it would be to install a large digital display like that and then maintain it.
I guess.
But back to Ghostbusters Protect the Barrier. See, just enough. I know when I have to get back on topic. It's a fan. I think it's probably... we played the Ghostbusters game that came out with Cryptozoic, and I liked it, but it felt like a board game. I never really was able to dismiss the fact that I'm playing a strategy board game, where I actually felt like a Ghostbuster when we played Protect the Barrier, because I was focused on completing the goal. And again, like I said with the Tiny Epic stuff, it's a real quick learn Protect the Barrier.
It is, yeah. I would agree with that.
Where, I still think we completed the Slimer situation, and I still don't think I know every mechanic of the Cryptozoic game.
I don't know because we really did abandon that game, quite honestly. I'm still sad about that we never finished any of the scenarios. But with this game, I think first of all, just to explain the game a little bit, it is a reskin of an existing game. It's called Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters. Honestly, when you look at this game, it looks like it was born to be a Ghostbusters game. The components are really cool and everything, but basically everybody picks a Ghostbuster, they roll a die, they get to see how many spaces they move, they flip over a card, and it tells them where, if any ghosts populate. Some of the doors to the building can be locked, and basically you're just going around the building and trying to capture ghosts and, get what do they call them, the PEDs?
The PEDs, because that's a paranormal energy device. Because the whole plot that is completely abandoned in Answer the Call is that Rowan is putting in these devices to draw paranormal energy out from the ley lines or mandala nodes, which I was totally expecting them to say in the movie.
I was shocked they didn't call them those.
Dude, especially because they drew the mandala from the video game. When she's doing all the X's, I'm like, oh my god, it's actually the mandala from freaking the 2009 game. This is awesome.
And they didn't do it.
No, but they did ley lines, and they touched on it with actually a more existing supernatural explanation, because those are that's you want to take. Here's another problem with the 2016 remake is the fact that they tried to place it in a lot of realism, where technobabble is fun when it's coming out of Ray Stance's mouth, but I don't want to be thinking about oh yeah, no, I've read about this. I know what ley lines are. takes me out a little bit. But yeah, so
anyway, back to the game.
Yeah. So the point of the game, you go into the Mercado Hotel. Mercado means table, in Spanish. Anywho, and you have to collect these PEDs, as we call them, because paranormal energy devices, just too much words for your mouth. And the game has beginning and advanced modes, which I think is the best part about it, because this means that this is the kind of game that you could break out with your kids, and I think that they could play it fine, or you could break it out with me, who, when I'm like, let's just play the basic mode, your jaw dropped. It hit the table. Because
I was
usually,
actually shocked, yeah.
Yeah, no, Devin Decker's going to play on the hardest mode, but I wanted to make sure we could get to a lot of games that night. So I was trying to, let's go on to easy mode so that we can get a feel for a game and then maybe play something else. But once you said it, you're like, you're right. I do want to play it on the hardest mode. And because of that, all we played was 3 games of Protect the Barrier, because it kicked our butts, man.
It did, but this game is... I hate using this phrase, but this game is elegant in its simplicity. Like, it is a really simple game as far as mechanics are concerned, but because of the difficulty level that we were having with it, I wanted to keep playing. Like, I was like, all right, let's do it again, because it played so fast. You know, we were playing, 15, 20 minutes a round?
I think the longest round that we had was 30 minutes, and that was because we brought in a third player.
We did, yeah. And, that didn't help at all.
No, it actually made it a little bit harder.
It did, actually. So I actually recommend it as a 2-player game, at least on the hardest level. Now, we didn't try the basic levels, but I can see that, okay, that would ramp down the difficulty quite a bit.
Oh, well, without question, because the thing that's elegant about, to use elegant, because it's already been put on the table, is the PED devices, when you're on the hard mode, they're numbered 1 through 8, and you need to remove them in numerical order, counting from 1 to 8. So if you were just playing the game... I mean, it's not in the rules, but a house rule that I think I would enforce every time I play the game is you have a deck of cards, and that's how you populate the ghosts throughout the game. And by flipping through the cards and placing a PED in the shuffle order, that added another level to the game. Hello?
Yes, I got you. Sorry, I'm hearing this popping noise in the background of my house. I'm not sure what it is. It's just creaking floorboards, but it was freaking me out since we're talking about Ghostbusters.
Well, I was going to say, if there's something strange in your neighborhood, who do you think you're going to call?
I mean, probably a carpenter in this circumstance, but I don't know.
He picked it up, guys. He picked up the joke. But yes, so it's a real fast play, and the way that it becomes more difficult is easy. Like, it's such a simple way to make it easy. It doesn't really add a whole lot of new elements. Like, sure, it adds different, shuffle cards into the mix and the ability to lock and unlock doors, but really, it just having to remove items in a certain way completely ramped up the difficulty of the game.
It really did, yeah. I agree. I mean, and just talking about those items, I mean, they're just little cardboard chits. Which is fine. They're completely functional. But what blew me away, and I think you were impressed too, is the actual Ghostbusters figures. This is what was amazing. When you go to pick up the PEDs, there's a little slot in their proton pack, and you get to put that PED cardboard chit into the proton pack. And it was just awesome. Like, that little touch of design, even though it's completely unnecessary. It didn't need to be there.
No, it did not need to be there at all, but it just showed a level of care on the part of the game makers that made me want to keep playing their game.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I loved it.
Because if there wasn't a way to keep the thing that you're holding on the board, then it would be boring. Because if I took it out and I put it in front of me, and then because the whole point of it is once you collect the PED, you have to take it out of the building. If it's already off the board, then it's already out of the building. It feels like it keeps it present and part of the game. So
I think that's the one aspect of the game that frustrated me, because the board, you have one entry point into this building, and it bottlenecked, and we kept getting stuck there because we'd roll the die and we get a 1, and we couldn't move, and it would populate a ghost because we'd be flipping over a card, and we'd be stuck in the entryway. And then you would roll a die and get a 1. And then we'd be still stuck in the entryway, and you couldn't get past me because there was it's not a 2-lane road, it's a 1-lane road.
Right. And I think
very frustrating.
that's another just very simple mechanic that you cannot pass Ghostbusters in any space. You can't populate the same space as them, and you cannot move by them. So it adds a whole other level of strategy that, honestly, I think we got in our own way with it. Because you roll that one,
literally.
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you roll that one, right, you don't have to move whatever number comes up on the die. You can choose to move as many or as few as you want. So we were like choosing not to move, but by you not moving that first time so that you wouldn't block me by standing there, in the event that I too roll a 1, we just wasted a turn, but the ghost
really
still
did,
got
yeah.
power.
And we thought we were being clever about it, and it turned out we weren't.
No. So here's the thing about Ghostbusters Protect the Barrier. First of all, it's beautiful design. All the Ghostbusters have so much energy, and they look just like the figures. The ghost figures are super cute, but the larger figures that populate as the game goes on, those are legitimately frightening. Like you're kind of scared about it. And so it's a great design game. But in addition to that, because it beat me every time that I played it, I cannot wait to bring it to the table again.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is keep it in your car or your board game backpack because I want to beat it at least once. And then we'll never play it again. But I want to Protect the Barrier one time.
I do hope that as my kids get older, as my daughters get older, that they will somehow or some way learn to appreciate some of the things that I like, including Ghostbusters. I actually went out and bought the 2016 movie just because I wanted to see it again after playing this game. And even if they don't appreciate the old movie, if they want to watch the new one, that's fine. But this game itself, it was just a fun Ghostbusters game, and I hope to introduce it to them because after playing it with you, I realized, if we play the basic versions, they could easily handle this because it's completely language independent. There's no need to read at all. You just need to be taught the rules, basically.
Exactly.
And I think at least my 6-year-old could easily handle this game. So I'm excited to teach, this one as a family game.
Cool.
So I think I would keep it even beyond beating it on the expert level is my ambition. I agree with you. But I think I would be able to keep it and play on the basic level as well with the kids.
All I'm going to say is that if you and I could beat Bobble on NES, we could beat Ghostbusters Protect the Barrier.
You would think that, but I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to try.
Well, how many tries did it take us
at
to
the
beat
end.
Grumple Grombit?
Well, you eventually beat him because I did have to ditch right at the end, and I felt bad about that.
Oh, yeah, but I count you as being there. You got me there, buddy.
I did. I kept dying, but I got there.
Yeah, that's part of Bobble. There's unlimited continues. But yes, and you know what? I'm not a father, but I will tell you this: the best way to get your kids involved in the things that you like, don't shove it down their throats.
No, absolutely
nobody
not.
likes to be forced to enjoy something.
I try to accidentally do things like I'll be flipping through the channels and be like, "Oh, look, Transformers Rescue Bots is on. Do you guys want to watch it?" No.
Well, but it's like Paw Patrol, but with robots.
And they still won't watch it, but
yeah, at that point they just want to watch Paw Patrol.
My youngest does like it when I bust out some of the Transformers. She really is enjoying the Titan Master ones because she likes to take the heads off and put them in the vehicle mode and drive them around and stuff. But they come up with their own scenarios for them. Eventually, they might like things that I like. They do like board games though, which is good.
That's good because if they didn't like board games, I think you might leave them at the fire station.
I don't think
Can you
I
still
would.
do that? No, I
They're still cute.
No, I don't
You
think
can.
you would either because you're not a horrible monster of a human being. But it's fun to pretend that if they're like, "No, we don't want to play board games, Daddy. Okay, we're going to McDonald's. Daddy, this is the fire. Bye."
They actually did. We started playing a new game that my oldest got for Christmas, Magic Labyrinth. This is I don't know the publisher's name on this one. I'd have to look it up later and add it to the show notes. But it's called Magic Labyrinth, and it's really neat because it on the outside the theme of the game is that you are a group of trainee wizards, and you are trying to get the different symbols that are on the board. You have this, it looks like a courtyard with some pillars and stuff on it, and you're moving your wizard around trying to get to the symbols. You draw the symbol out of the bag, it tells you, okay, you got to go find the magic wand symbol, or you got to go find the shooting star symbol, or something like that. But the cool thing is that the reason why it's a magic labyrinth is as you walk around, there are going to be walls that you cannot see, and you bump into them, and then you have to go back to start. But what's happening is the mechanics of it is underneath the board are these wooden slats that you put into different formations. and you can't see them because the board is on top of it. And there's a magnetic ball bearing that is stuck to the bottom of your figure through the board. So as you move around, when you hit one of these wooden slats, it actually knocks the ball bearing down, and so you know that you hit a wall and you got to go back to start. So it's a memory game with this really cool mechanic of, just the ball bearing falls down. It's super simple, but it evokes this cool sense of magic. And the first time we tried it, it was like, what happened? I don't get it. Like, we actually hit a wall. Okay, we got to go back. And we were having a blast with this. Even my 3-year-old was able to play this game. And, they work out the path, and you have to remember where the walls are, and you have to try to get to the different symbols. And it's really funny because you find one path that is there, and you always keep taking it. So you have to take this super roundabout way to get to a symbol, when it could turn out that there was actually, you were right next to it, and it was an opening, and you could have gone that way the whole time.
That's awesome. That first of all, the mechanic is cool, but I really like. It's so funny how your mind works that way. Like, I'm going to do what I know works. Like, I know that if I go left, there's no wall there. I'll go around.
Even though it's going to take me 7 steps to get there.
Yeah. Is it roll movement? How do the characters move?
It is a roll and move. So you roll the die. I think it's 1 to 4 spaces. So, and it's really. There's that luck element to it, but you also have the memory aspect. So you're trying to remember where it is. And it's really cool, like the levels of, players like me. I'm just like, I'll shove the figure all around. I don't really care. As soon as I hit the wall, it's like, oh, darn, Daddy hit the wall, and it goes back, and I got to, start over. My 3-year-old is adorable with it because she'll push her figure right up to the edge where the wall might be, and she'll look at everybody and go, is there a wall there? I'm like, we don't know. Try pushing it. And she'll be like, you push it. She doesn't want that sense of failure, I guess, that she hit the wall. So she has us push the figure forward sometimes, and then sometimes we'll be like, no, you can do it. Oh, we'll do it together, and then we'll push it, and it goes through. And there's just cheers when it actually works. When she gets through and there's no wall there, and she'll lose track of how many spaces she's moved because she's so happy that she didn't hit a wall.
Nice.
It's quite funny.
That's awesome. That's fun. That just. Thank you for that story, Zach. It warms my heart.
It really is a fun game. Like, I mean, even as an adult, I enjoy it. Like, I love finding kids' games that are fun for adults to play too. Like, the storybook games from Yellow that we've talked about before on the show, like the Three Little Pigs, and the newest one that we got that Vanessa mentioned in our anniversary episode, The Tortoise and the Hare. Those are really good games for adults to play with their kids, but also they could work as just adults can play it and have some fun. This game is probably on the simpler side, so you definitely want to play it with mainly kids, but we had fun playing it. Like, I can't see myself busting this out on game night with a bunch of adults, unless they were a little inebriated. Like, okay, let's play a memory game and have some challenges here. Maybe add some more flair to it. But
I have to be honest with you. Please bring it along. I would love to play this game. How many slats are there? Could you make it like real crazy?
You can. It comes with the rule book has some designs in it. Like, this is the suggested starting design that you can do. But you can arrange it any way you see fit. So you can make it as hard or as easy as you want it to be.
Because I'm not a big Dungeons and Dragons guy. I mean, that's a whole story for another episode. But I feel like something like that, you could have fun with it as like an RPG, like just base thing. Because every time you hit a wall, it could be a random encounter. Like that seems like the kind of thing that like you could build up to. It seems like a nice utility piece to have in your board game backpack.
We should start the Kickstarter right now. We can make a whole game just on that.
Kickstarter. Interesting. Have you kickstarted anything lately, Zachariah?
I started to, tried to. The company that made the review game that we have coming up, Gamelyn Games, they launched their Kickstarter twice now, I want to say, for their newest game, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. This is completely not a tiny epic game. It's actually, I guess you would say, oversized epic game. I mean, it is a giant box of tons of miniatures and stuff. And I wasn't 100% sure, like, oh, do I want to get this game or whatever. But after watching the playthrough videos, this is a 4X game, which is explore, exploit, exterminate, and something else, exfoliate. I don't know. Probably not that.
I want it to be exfoliate. I want to believe that,
too.
like, while playing the game, put on this facial mask, and then once you succeed, peel it off.
Very different type of game.
Yeah.
But this game, it just intrigued me when I watched the gameplay. It's basically 4X games. They tend to take a long time. It's multiple hours of gameplay and stuff like that. We're talking like 4 to 6 hours probably of gameplay, which I don't usually have the time to do. So I was kind of turned off when I first saw that. But when I watched the gameplay video and some of the reviews of the early copies of the game, they really slimmed this one down. It's like 1 to 2 hour kind of game, which I could fit into my kind of game night. And they added a whole bunch of different factions, and they have add-ons for more factions, and the miniatures are pretty good looking, I feel. I mean, I'm not a miniatures gamer, but the quality of the ones that they have there, I think the sculpts are nice. But what really intrigued me and impressed me is Gamelyn Games was listening to their buyers, their fans. And the fans were saying, okay, you have this game up here and you want to sell pre-painted miniatures, but could you sell it without pre-painted? Because some people like to paint it themselves. And they said, sure. So they added, tiers for people to get it unpainted, which I was ecstatic for because that's how I wanted it. And then they said, well, we don't want the miniatures. Some of us want the standees that you have. And they said, okay, sure. So they added a tier so that you could get it with standees, so it was even cheaper. And it looks like that they took down the Kickstarter because they said, wait a minute. We're listening to everybody here. We really need to reorganize the whole thing. So it's actually relaunching on May 4th. So I got that, set up in my calendar to, look at it again when they relaunch it with new prices and new tiers and new stretch goals and everything. But it is a really cool game. You can still look at the original Kickstarter page and see everything they have there. And so far, I have not been disappointed by Gamelyn Games at all. Or I shouldn't say I have not been disappointed by Scott Alms, because he did have one game that I didn't really care for, Loop Inc. But all his other games that I've played have been great. So with the exception of Loop Inc., I've been very happy with his products.
Loop Inc. That's the time travel agency. Time travel agency.
Yeah, you worked for a time travel agency where you could go on adventures and take people on tours through time instead of space, or it's a travel agency through time. And I don't know, it really fell flat for everybody when we played that. Were you in on that game? Did you?
I was in on that game. That's how I knew what Loop Inc. was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I've mentioned it a couple times. I was excited for that game too, and then it took forever to get it to table. And then when I finally did, I'm like, it just didn't do it for me. I was really upset because I love time travel. I love Doctor Who. I love those, that theme. And so far, I have not played a game that really captured the time travel aspect, or was a game that I liked that captured the time travel theme.
Well, I will say this about Loop Inc. It nailed the time travel element in certain ways. Like the fact that whatever has happened really worked for me. Like, I liked that part of it. It just that, I don't know, like, I think that in my strategy, I wasn't planning for the fact that what had already happened will happen again, and what that would mean for everybody.
See, I went in knowing that was part of the strategy, but I don't know, it just fell flat. I'd like to try it again. I haven't gotten rid of it. It's still in my collection. I plan to bring it out at some point again. I'll give it a second chance. I've done that before with games where it didn't work the first time, and then I played it again and said, actually, you know what, this is pretty good. Games like Seven Wonders, which I never thought I would actually like, and I tried it the first time. I said, I don't get any of this. Like, this was early when I started playing.
You didn't like Seven Wonders? I love Seven Wonders.
I love it now.
I've not played Seven Wonders ever. That game's so good.
It's good, but you got to play it with more people. Seven Wonders Duel came out and that works well with 2 players.
Yeah, that's perfect
for
two
two
people.
players.
Yeah,
because it only plays 2 people. But Seven Wonders, I feel like you need to have at least 4 or 5, and the higher player counts. It's one of those games where they put up to 7 players, and it works really well with that. You need that. I don't like playing with a 3 or 2, because the 2-player mode of regular Seven Wonders is awful. That's probably why we haven't busted it out, because usually it's just the 2 of us or 3 of us. That's
very true. But that is one that I think I could probably convince some of the other people in the house to try out. Hint.
I think your family would probably really like that, actually.
Yeah.
It's such a quiet game, though. If you ever play Seven Wonders, with a big group of people, everybody's just silent. There's no real interaction. There's just the occasional, okay, I took a military, and then the person next to you goes, really? Really? You had to do that? But there's no interaction with the people across
I would like
the
to
table
know
from
who
you,
you're
I think.
playing Seven Wonders with. That's what I'm going to say. Because every time I have played Seven Wonders, it has been a raucous time.
Well, then I need to definitely play Seven Wonders with you, because usually that's like a end of the night kind of quiet game that we usually bust out with. Like, okay, everybody's getting a little tired, so we'll just play Seven Wonders.
Interesting.
I had to give up on Seven Wonders Duel, though, because I've played it a couple times now, and Vanessa kicks my butt at it every single time. But it's my fault. It is my fault. I always go for the science, even though you absolutely shouldn't in that game.
No.
I go for the science immediately, because I just want a science victory. I want to prove that one time it'll work. But she's very vigilant, and she just kicks my butt.
I would like to tell you something. I don't think I've ever taken a science any time that I've played that game.
I don't know what it is. I'm always attracted to the science cards. I do the same thing in regular Seven Wonders, and I do it, and I know, I'm like, this is a long shot. I probably should not be wasting my time or money on this, and I do it every single time.
Now I know Zach's weakness.
You do. Or did I just plant seeds so that when we do play, I can kick your butt because you think I'm going to go for the science cards?
Dude, I'm going to go for all the science cards so Zach can't get it.
And then you'll get the victory and prove me completely.
Not only will I prove that a science victory is possible, I'll make you look like an egg face.
Well, I can't wait to post that picture on Twitter.
All right, well, there you go. Cool. No, that's good. Like, I like that. You know what I really like about that? I like that they listen to their fans about it. I've never kickstarted the board game.
Oh, you mean Gamelyn Games?
Yeah, Gamelyn Games. I'm giving them credit. Well, we were kind of talking about that. We spun off of it. Yeah. I've never kickstarted anything because I'm just so wary of it. Like, there are things that, like, afterwards have been really good, and I'm like, I would have kickstarted this, and I'm like, no, you wouldn't have, because, there's a chance that it turns out terrible. And you know what? Let someone else spend the money, and then, you can pay for the product. Just like they do anywhere else.
See, I look at Kickstarter as, I'm helping a company, achieve what they want, their goal. They want to put this product out. They believe in this product. I'm going to help them achieve it. We went through that with Spyglass Games, and I've gone through that with a couple of other small companies.
But again, I think it's because you're doing it with board games. There's something that's real tangible stuff. Like, a lot of the times before a board game goes to Kickstarter, like you said, they have a playthrough video. They have pictures of what you're actually going to get from the game. The stuff that interests me, like I said, I've never done a board game. I almost did Dark Souls, but I couldn't justify the cost. And also, I'm like, I'm never going to play it. Like, as much as I want to play the Ghostbusters board game, you own it, right? But, like, it never finds its way to table because of how intense it is.
I would agree with that, yeah.
And so it's
I didn't kickstart that one, but it was a gift to me, which, so I'm fine with it.
Right.
I always, any purchase that I do, I always have to think, like, okay, how could I justify buying this? Like, is it going to be, can I use it? Like, back when we were doing stop motion animation, it was, okay, can I animate this figure? Can I come up with a scenario where I can justify owning this toy so that I could animate it? And I still do that to this day, even though I haven't put out an animated, thing on the internet in like a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was. But with board games, now it's like, okay, I'm in this hobby. I really enjoy, creating media for it and doing the podcast. But, would I just want to play this game? Could I even get it to table? And that has stopped me from backing projects before. But sometimes it's, not just because, I want a copy of the game, but I've actually sent, back projects where I just gave them, $1 or something like that. That obligatory, $1 pledge level. I gave them that because I think, okay, I believe in this company, and I want to see them succeed. I'm not giving them a ton of money, but, every dollar counts usually in these Kickstarter campaigns.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them come down to the wire. But with this one, the Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, it's like, okay, after watching the gameplay video, I can see us getting this game to the table. I can see us having, an epic game night where we play this game and have fun with it. And it just looked like a lot of fun to me.
Only based on what you've said about it, I'm excited to try it. Well, that is good. What I'm going to say. So, I mean, you've sold me on this game right there and then. And I do. I respect Gamelyn Games for saying, okay, this is what our backers want. This is the people who are willing to give us money to fund this project. This is their feedback. And rather than produce an inferior product, that doesn't listen to the needs of the people who are saying, we believe in you, let's give them the best product that we can.
Absolutely.
And based on the other stuff that I've played, you know, Tiny Epic or 4X, I'm excited.
Cool. All right. I will use this as a segue to cut over to our, breakdown of the rules of our review game, Tiny Epic Western. Tiny Epic Western, designed by Scott Elms, is a worker placement game with a poker element from Gamelyn Games. In Tiny Epic Western, players take on the roles of rival gang leaders in the Old West, with the goal of gaining the most influence in the area and taking over the town. At the start of the game, each player takes a character card with a unique power as their role. They are then dealt 2 poker cards and choose one to keep. The play area is set up to form the town, with each player getting their own porch as a home base. Between each location card, a poker card is placed face up to be used later, and a final poker card is placed face down in front of the town hall location. This is known as the rival card. Building cards are dealt out to each porch to be purchased by the players. Players take turns placing posse members on different locations, gaining influence in the form of law, money, and force. This influence is used as currency to purchase different buildings that are worth victory points at the end of the game, as well as further bonus points represented by the different industry icons on each card. Buildings also have unique special abilities that can be used when a posse member is placed on its porch. If a player places a member of their posse on an already occupied porch, a duel will take place. Players roll bullet dice to determine their power in the duel, and can spend law or force influence to re-roll. Players can also choose to reveal their poker card and add its value to their power. But they have to be careful because they can only do this once, and if they do, the other players will know their potential poker hands. Whoever wins the duel gains the Wanted card, which counts for bonus points at the end of the game. This card can pass multiple times in a game if multiple duels occur. After all workers are placed and rewards are resolved, the players can play 3-card poker, using the cards that were placed between each location. Any wounded posse members from a duel may not participate in this phase. The rival card from earlier is now flipped and plays against the other players for bonus rewards at each location. At the end of the round, everyone plays one final hand of poker at the town hall. The winner gets to move the industry bonus of their choice up the track and get first dibs at purchasing a location card for victory points. A new round then begins. New poker cards are then dealt out, and empty porches are dealt new buildings to be purchased. Play continues until all 3 industry tokens have been moved forward to fill the track. Scores are then added up, and bonus points are given, and the winner gains control of the town. That's how you play Tiny Epic Western. Let's get back to the friends and find out what we thought. And we're back. Me and Devin Decker were talking about Tiny Epic Western from Gamelyn Games.
Yeah!
Yeah, all right, cool. We'll get that cowboy voice going right now. You really do find yourself talking like a cowboy when you play this game, I find.
Oh, that's right, little lady.
This is a worker placement game from Gamelyn, and it's a worker placement game with a twist. It basically has worker placement combined with poker, which I couldn't even wrap my head around. When this game was up on Kickstarter, I seriously waited till the last possible second to back it because I wasn't sure if I could even grasp how to play it. You really have to have it in front of you, and then it just all makes sense, and it makes perfect sense. It's really cool.
Can I tell you, the coolest thing about this game for me is we played it, last year, November maybe of last year was the first time we finally brought it to table, and after not playing it for 3 months, it is such just a bike game where I felt like I had played it yesterday because it's at once familiar and intriguing. Does that make sense? Maybe not intriguing is not what I want. It's a lot to look at. When you're setting it up, it's bigger than Tiny Epic Galaxies. Without question.
Yeah, it definitely has a bigger footprint. It takes up, the way it sets up like a wagon wheel, which just adds to the reinforcement of the theme. But you got this town, these town of cards with different places to go for your workers and your posse, as they call it, and And then in between each building, you put a poker card in there. And it really all gels together really well, so that it does help you remember how to play it. Because I played it a couple times since I introduced it to you. Vanessa and I played it, and naturally she beat me. She beats me at everything. But, just playing the game, it was really cool. Like, the visual aspect of it, it just everything reinforces the Western theme, which I was very impressed by. Just awesome looking design.
It takes you away. It really puts you in the world, and then my mind is working as it. I don't know. It does. And it's cut. I feel so cutthroat when I play the game, and I don't ever duel. I'm not a person who I'm never the duelee. I'm always the dueler. I'm always the duelee. You
attacked me a couple times.
I feel I attacked you. I attacked you that last game because I knew if I attacked you, I could win. I'm not gonna lie.
This is true.
That's why I did that. And I did. I won by 1 point, and that's because I fought you. But you do become cutthroat, and it really becomes like the Wild West, where there are no rules, and we're not going to be kind.
So let's talk about this for a minute. We got the design of the game. When you have it set up on the table, it looks like a wagon wheel, which is really cool. But the actual components, it's got these awesome little meeples that it came with that are all cowboy shaped, so they're super cool. And those are your posse, basically. You start with 2 that you can use and 1 that you can't. But you can stand him up later, recruit him in a number of different ways. You have your actual player board is a unique character with its own artwork and everything. So you have variable player powers because they have their own thing. But just the production quality of this game, because of the meeples, because of the cards, they're nice thick cards. There's artwork all over the place. Inside, outside the box, all over the cards, everything. And you also have probably my favorite component ever to come out of Gamelyn Games, these dice. These bullet-shaped dice.
You are never going to shut up about the dice.
I'm not going to shut up about
Can I tell you, the only reason that I
awesome.
don't want to play Tiny Epic Westerns with you is because I know I got to hear 5 minutes on the dice. I mean, it's a tight 5. You've really cut it down. But
I did.
I mean, and they are. They're cool. It's cool that they're shaped like bullets. I mean, personal complaint, I find it very difficult to roll and get anything higher than a 1.
They kind of are, but the coolness factor really just gets over it for me.
Oh, and
I think because we keep using the box, which I guess is a negative point because it is a Tiny Epic game. It's in this tiny pocket-sized box, and the lid of the box is what they use as a dice tray, and it's not quite big enough to roll the dice properly, I feel. You got to roll it on the table, but I don't know. I guess I play with people who just love to chuck dice, and these are not dice that you need to chuck. You got to roll them because they're bullet-shaped.
You actually have to roll the dice. And I work on how I'm going to roll these dice techniques. Right now, I usually do an underhand roll, but I think I'm going to start doing it overhand. Where I just sort of launch it. I wish you could see what I'm doing with my hand right now.
I don't know if I want to see what you're doing with your hand right now because this is a family-friendly show.
No. It's very. Actually, it's good that you're not because next time we roll, I'm going to get you.
You're going to have a secret weapon.
I'm ready. You're going to be using a Smith & Wesson, and I'm going to have a 9mm Glock.
Gun jokes.
I work with what you give me.
I'll bring my Derringer. So
it is only 1 bullet.
You only need 1. So
I only need 1.
I actually have one bit of regret in this game that I didn't back to get extra dice because I like them so much. I don't know what I would use them for other than to give other people when we're playing their own die because I think that would be kind of cool. But you get 2 in the box. I was, and they work perfectly fine because you're never going to duel with 3 people at once. You always just duel with 1 person. 2 people, I mean. I guess that's the definition of a duel.
That is what, duel means 2. It's double entendre.
I just wanted more of the dice, okay? And now
I
think I have managed to stretch it out to 5 minutes.
You love the dice. Everybody who's played the game with you knows that you love the dice. Here's the thing, right? Dale, my sister, is one of the people that we've played this game with many times. Tonight, when she gets home from work, I'm going to say, Zach and I discussed Tiny Epic Westerns, and from her mouth is going to go, "Oh, do you talk about the dice?" That's going to be her response.
I believe that'll happen. And it won't be pre-scripted or anything. She's just going to know that
she's going to know that this is the response that is not expected but required.
So obviously, I like the components. It sounds like you do too. And
I like the
we'll move on
meeples.
from
I
those.
really like the meeples, and not just the meeples. I like that each porch has a spot that is perfectly formulated for meeple placement. And I'm sure that this is just like this is because I don't play board games that this small thing affects me the way that it does. But I really like it, and it brings me into the game again.
Yeah, they could have put a big glowing neon sign that said "Your Meeple here," but instead, it's a nice silhouette of the cowboy meeple, and it works perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I also like we didn't mention the components for tracking your currency, the law, the money, and the what was the other one?
Force,
yes. Yeah. Those are really nice too because they're cut in the different shapes. Like the law is cut into the shape of a sheriff's badge. The money is obviously, money. And the force is actually a revolver's chamber, which is pretty cool.
Yes. And
you use those in the game basically to buy stuff.
Exactly. That is how you purchase the places from the porches that you were placed at. I'd like to talk about the poker.
Go for it.
That is the thing. It's 3-card poker, which I've never played before. But outside of the poker, what I like is that they came up with their own suits for the cards. It's a bull, a horseshoe, a teepee, and a top hat.
I think it's a Stetson, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It looks like a top hat to me. I'm sure it looks like a top hat, and it makes sense. Hat. Oh, it doesn't look like a cowboy hat. It looks like a top hat. It's black and it has the little white bar, and it's the top. It's the top suit. So I feel like it's a top hat. It's what the bad guy wears. It's what Snidely Whiplash wears.
Yeah, and I kept mixing up the level of suits, which is the top versus the bottom. I kept thinking
right, and that's why I bring that up because they made their own thing, which adds to the game. It brings you deeper into the world. But that is the one thing that I find myself having. I forget about it. I only think about the numbers, and I forget that suits break the tie all the time.
I ran into that myself, and you even corrected me on one time. Like, no, actually, you have the low suit, and I had to go back. But luckily, they give you on the opposite side of the other character cards is a cheat sheet. Just a player guide to let you know. Hey, this is how the suits work, this is how the poker hands work, and this is the rounds and everything. It's really useful. I find that nice that they do that.
Yes, it really is. But honestly, there's my one complaint with the game, is that I personally, human error, forgets to check which suit is higher than the other suit. Because I'm so focused on the poker. And I love it. I do love that it's 1 through 4, or 1 through 5, is what you're playing with in the cards. And if there are 2 people on it, you play against each other. And if there's not, you play against the town hall, just like a player card.
Yeah, they have a rival card there.
Yeah.
That you flip over when you get to the poker stage.
And but
I think it works really well, and it's cool because you don't know what that rival card's going to be. And as long as you don't reveal your card during a duel, you don't know what your opponent's card's going to be. So when you're playing the poker, it really is, you're trying to, at the beginning of the round, you're dealt 2 cards, 3 if you have a special power. But you get
which
dealt
Zach
those cards,
always seems to have whenever we play, despite the fact that we
happened.
randomly choose our characters. I want to make sure that the air quotes came through.
I think that I got poked in the eye, actually. Came right through the microphone.
I tried.
But you have to pick which card you feel works. So you get to see the cards that are between the buildings. So you know what you're going to be playing with, but you don't know what the other players have, which I guess is poker basically. I don't play a lot of poker, but I do know that. But it's nice because that rival card is really what threw me off every time, because it would flip over and be like, oh, rival's got a straight, and I played for pairs instead of going for the straight, and it just.
All I ever do is play for pairs, and I feel like a damn fool whenever poker starts.
It does, yeah, because it's the easiest thing to remember. I'm like, oh yeah, if I get 2 of something, I have something,
Exactly.
But sometimes I feel like an idiot because like, oh, I could have gotten a straight.
I remember when my other card was a 3 and there's a 2 and a 4 there. I remember.
Yeah, it was 8 seconds ago.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But no, it is, I like it. I enjoy this game, and it's one that honestly, any of the Tiny Epic games, and it's just the 2, right? Currently it's just Galaxies and Western, or are there any more?
There's actually 4 Tiny Epic games out right now.
Okay.
Tiny Epic Kingdoms, Tiny Epic Defenders, Tiny Epic Galaxies, and Tiny Epic Western. I have Galaxy and Western. I do not have Kingdoms or Defenders. Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, like we mentioned earlier, is kind of the successor, I guess you could say, to Tiny Epic Kingdoms. It's much bigger scale.
That makes me want to believe that there might be a successor coming for Galaxies and Westerns, but I want to manage my expectations. That being said, if you're able to get your hands on any of these games, always have them on you.
And you can.
Yeah, because they're so tiny. But honestly, because these are the kind of games that are easy to bust out. It's easy to play around, and you just have fun with it. Even like Tiny Epic Westerns, which is maximum 6 rounds, it goes quickly because once you understand how the game works, you know how the game works, and and it moves very quickly. And I like that.
Like we've talked about before, like, simple games to learn. These are, relatively easy to learn, but there's a lot in them.
Exactly. I mean,
they really do have a lot in these games that are just beyond what you'd expect from such a small box game.
Well, and that's the thing about every time that I end up playing a Tiny Epic, that first time that I play it, I get the game. I understand the mechanics of the game. But it's not until like my second or third play with it that I fully understand the beauty of everything that's involved and what that means for how I can play the game.
Yeah, I remember after we played this the first time, you actually texted me and you were upset, it seemed, because you were thinking about the game.
Oh,
yeah. You woke up
it was
thinking
the
about
next
the game.
morning, and I was stuck in traffic, and I'm like, I hate Zach right now because all I'm thinking about is what my strategy will be the next time we play Tiny Epic Westerns. And spoiler alert, gang, it worked.
It did. I don't remember who won the first time we played it, but
I don't either, which is the only sad thing. You know why I don't remember, though, is because our Tiny Epic Galaxies was truly epic that night, going through every single tiebreaker until the very last one to determine a winner, which was awesome.
I'm looking forward to their next game, too. I had backed it back in November, Tiny Epic Quest. That one hasn't come in yet, but that's the next one in the line to arrive.
I'm excited too, and not just because you brought it up, but because I love the Tiny Epic games, and
good quality stuff.
Yeah, so Gamelyn, they're doing the big 4X, and they're doing these Tiny Epic things. Check them out. Is this the kind of game that I can buy somewhere? I don't know if that's the kind of thing, but if I didn't kickstart it, am I out of luck or?
No, I know they reprint them, and they're available online. You can find them on Amazon probably at inflated prices because it's all resellers. But I think Cool Stuff has it, and just search for it, and you can probably get it through Gamelyn's website. But the neat thing is, there was an expansion to Tiny Epic Galaxies. I did not back it. I don't know why I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. I think it was because we weren't playing it at the time, and then we started playing it again. And, I realized, I love this game. I wish I had backed the expansion. But one of the neat things is, they always, in their Kickstarters, they have their other games as add-ons, so you can get it, that way too.
Oh, interesting.
Which is nice.
I will have to keep my eye out. I'd really like to own a copy of Tiny Epic Galaxies.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that I find it very difficult to find, so that's why I want to make sure, is it just because I'm missing these Kickstarters? Am I going to have to bite the bullet that way? Or
I have
are
a
there
feeling
going to
you're going to be able to find it because it just got aired on YouTube on the show Tabletop with Wil Wheaton, and that gets tons of views. And I don't know if it's still the same as it used to be when the show first started, but they called it the Wil Wheaton Effect because it would, the game would get played on Tabletop, and then everybody would go online and try to buy the game, and it would just get sold out everywhere. So I'm pretty sure Gamelyn probably anticipated this and might have ordered another printing of Tiny Epic Galaxies. So
I will have to check that out then. Though that thing you just described, the Wil Wheaton Effect, One of the things I've started to resent about YouTube, because I realize that every time you see a video about like a video game or something that like maybe wasn't known before by someone who's very popular, you see the prices on that one just skyrocket, and it becomes very difficult to find. Yeah.
I mean, but the effect, as it used to be, at least during the first 2 seasons of his show Tabletop, was more people became aware of the game and they just wanted to buy it. And retailers would order more copies. Like now, these games that were on the first and second season of Tabletop, they're starting to show up in Target. They're starting to show up in not so much Walmart, but Target really embraced it. Their tabletop section, their game section, is huge now compared to what it was. It's almost half the toy section, and they have a dedicated space just for these designer board games. And there are a lot of gateway games. But at the same time, it's really impressive. And their website actually has a lot of these designer board games, ones that you don't find in their stores. So I wouldn't be surprised if you started seeing, like, the Tiny Epic series, because that's the kind of game that, a retail store would want. Because, 1, it's not expensive, and 2, it doesn't take up a lot of shelf space. So they can easily market it and sell it.
Yes. I don't know how to respond to it. It's like, you're right. Like, I mean, the board game section in Target runs the entire length of the toy section. And I personally, you talk about that, I got my copy of Pandemic at a Walmart. So
Walmart's grown theirs as well. They don't have as good of a selection.
Not the same way, but it is, like you said, like they are getting out there. So hopefully I'll be able to find a copy of this game, because I do love the Tiny Epic stuff. And I was surprised at how much, because Tiny Epic Western, the second you start setting it up, it's so different from what I had known before, but it's also still the same. So I feel like, this is all conjecture on the part of Devin Decker, who is the least board game oriented of the team, but I feel like if you know one, you kind of understand how these guys work and what they're bringing to the table. So you could probably play and enjoy any of them.
I would agree with that. So back to Western, would you recommend the game, Devin?
Oh yes, of course. I'd recommend it right now.
Would, so.
And that's not even like I'm not getting paid to say that. No, I'm sorry, not to be a jerk. No, I'd recommend it right now. I would want to play Tiny Epic. All of this talk about Tiny Epic Westerns makes me want to play the game, because I want to get better. There's so much going on within the game, and right now what I have is a strategy that I know works. It is proven to work, so that's all I play. So I'd really like to get it to table again, and I'd like to force myself to try dueling more often, or to try going to different porches and different locales in order to get what they are. Because currently I focus on law, and I don't know if law is overpowered, but it's what I did both times, and both times I was able to play very well. Like, I was not upset at the end of it, like, why did I care about this?
All right. I want to see. I want to get this game to table again too, and I want to get it with a higher player count.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The next time, I think right now we should make a blood pact through the microphones. I'm cutting my hand right now.
Okay, I swear I'm doing that too.
Yeah, right. No, but the next time that we play Tiny Epic Westerns, I think it should be with the max number, which is 5, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence the joke earlier in the show.
No, I that's why I wanted to just make sure. is that I had understood the joke. Welcome to the joke. Yes, because I feel like we've only ever played it with 3 as the max that we've played it with, and
That's as high as I've gone too, yeah.
Because if there are more players, even at 4, there's only so much real estate to take up on the board, so it would force more duels.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. With 4 or 5 players, you're going to run into duels more often. I think that's when that aspect of the game is going to become a lot more interesting.
Yes.
It's going to add more, drama to it and more player interaction. Because that's what I'm always looking for is more player interaction. That's why I play board games. I want to interact with these people, within reason. And I want to... and that is something that I don't like in games when there's, less player interaction. I don't want to sit there and, not talk and have a quiet game, which is why I don't bust out 7 Wonders that often. As much as I liked the actual gameplay, I want to, talk with people, and I want to, trash talk, and I want to have fun with it. And, this game with the aspect of dueling with those dice that will not be mentioned because you're sick of hearing about it.
It's fine, dude. It's your show, and it's your game. You're allowed to like that stuff.
I think that is something that I want to explore more. So I think a higher player count is the only thing. And that's not a knock against the game. That's just me wanting to play it again with higher player count. The game is excellent.
It's not even though we've played it with 2 people and we've played it with 3 people, and each game felt different and real and like there were stakes. Mm-hmm. Like it never felt like, oh, this game is clearly a watered down version of what it would be. And granted, that's because we've never played with those people, but I was engaged by the game even when there was just the 2 of us. So I can only imagine that it will become more engaging the more I need to pay attention to the actions of people.
Yeah, and I played it with 2 players with Vanessa, like I said, too, and it was really funny because when I put it out on the table and started to set it up, she was, okay, what is this? This weird, setup of the cards and, creating the town and everything. And as soon as I explained the rules and she started to get, the idea of worker placement, she got it. It was easy. It was, and then she kicked my butt at it too. She's just, anybody, it doesn't matter if you're new to gaming or if you're, an experienced gamer, this is a game that's, easily accessible, but hard to master. I feel like there's a lot of different strategies to go, and I feel like once you get a higher player count, you can get an even better experience out of it. I just anticipate that this is a game that I'm going to really like with higher player count. I still think I like Tiny Epic Galaxies more. Maybe just a little bit more. But I'm not ruling this one out until I play with higher player counts.
Exactly, because, Tiny Epic Galaxies, I believe I played 3 games with you, and it went from a 4-person game to a 5-person game to a 3-person game. And that right there, just having that many people, there's so many more actions you need to be aware of. You need to pay attention to more. So I can imagine that partially why you like Galaxies more is because you have played it with full amounts of people. Where Western, you've only ever had to deal with the actions of 1 or 2 other players.
Plus, Galaxies has what I've already decided is my favorite mechanic, which is the follow mechanic.
Yes.
You can use the culture to follow what the other person is doing. Also, that mechanic is in Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, so I'm really excited for that. Just another shout-out to that Kickstarter when it comes out.
You remember when I said I was going to play Heroes of Land and Sea with you?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Aww.
You know why? Because you just follow me. I hate it. You're the worst. You make that mechanic unfun for me. Because I know every time I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm like, but Zach's going to do it too.
But that's what's so beautiful about that mechanic. Anyway, we're talking about Tiny Epic Western.
No, I understand it. But
find it.
But you know what
It's
it
a
really
game.
works out about it? You talk about that it's about human interaction, right? That's why you play board games. The Tiny Epic games, because they are so simple in their elegance or elegant in their simplicity, that's what allows for the interaction. Because once you understand the game, you can sort of autopilot it and make sure that you're like, oh, I'm taking you down, boy.
That's when you get to bust out your awesome accents.
Yeah, right? I don't even have the hat on, and it came out.
Darren, this town ain't big enough for the 2 to 5 of us.
This is my mind. You're never going to take it from old Parrot.
I'm going to make you eat them bullet dice.
Oh, don't know. You'd be so sad because...
I would be, actually.
I don't know who'd be more sad, me because I'd have to pass them, or you because, well, you wouldn't have your bullet dice for 2 to 3 days. But yeah, Tiny Epic Westerns, play it. It's tiny, it's epic, it's a Western.
And I think that ends it right there.
That does end it right there.
Oh, boy. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
That wraps up this episode of Board with Friends. If you have questions to ask, grievances to make, or comments to deliver, feel free to email us at boardwithfriends42@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at boardwithfriend. Like us on Facebook, or check out our website, boardwithfriends.blogspot.com. If you enjoyed this show, check out some other podcasts like The Say Report, the Local Multiplayer Podcast, or the Fanholes Podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening.